Beyond the gates, spoilers tease that when Andre Richardson stumbles upon a crumpled, yellowed letter tucked away behind the false back of an antique writing desk, the foundations of his identity will crumble beneath his feet, and what emerges from the ruins will be a revelation more explosive than any secret the Richardson family has ever faced. For years, Andre has believed Stan and Ira Richardson to be his long-vanished parents, two kind souls who perished in a tragic accident, leaving him in the protective care of his Uncle Ted and Aunt Nicole. But the letter, penned in a shaky hand and dated decades ago, tells a different story. Stan and Ira were never his birth parents at all. Instead, they were carefully selected stand-ins, props in a lie orchestrated by Ted himself to hide the most intimate bond of all, that Andre is not his nephew, but his own son. The discovery comes on an otherwise ordinary Saturday morning. Andre, restless from a fitful night's sleep, wanders into the study to find solace among the bookshelves his uncle so meticulously arranged. Dust motes dance in the slanting light as he runs his fingers along leather spines, imagining the countless hours Ted spent cataloging works on philosophy, history, and the arcane mysteries of their ancestral lineage. It is in this room steeped in years of family lore and heavy with the scent of old paper that Andre's gaze falls on a small, ornate box protruding from the back of the lowest shelf. He pries it free and lifts its lid to reveal a handful of brittle documents, faded photographs, medical forms, and atop them, a folded sheet of stationery bearing Ted's distinctive scrawl. Hands trembling, Andre unfolds the letter. The script is faded, the ink smudged in places, as though the writer wept or pressed their fingers against the damp paper. He reads the opening lines in disbelief. "My dearest brother, I write with a burden upon my soul that I can no longer carry alone." His pulse quickens as the words unfold. Ted admits that Stan and Ira Richardson were chosen to be Andre's legal guardians after his conception, a way to shield the boy from scandal and shame. The real parents, Ted himself and a woman whose name is redacted in the letter, had feared that revealing Andre's true parentage would destroy Ted's marriage to Nicole Dupree Richardson. To preserve the union and protect the child, they crafted a story of tragic orphanhood. Andre's vision swims as he reads that Stan Richardson, his so-called father, was a retiring accountant with a gentle manner, and Ira, a schoolteacher beloved by her students. Both were recruited by Ted to assume parental roles and then conveniently lost in a supposed car accident 2 decades ago. No official records exist of their deaths, only Ted's solemn announcement to the family, which all accepted without question. The letter, however, provides explicit instructions, the precise code to access a safety deposit box containing proof of Andre's true lineage, DNA test results, birth registration documents, and personal confessions. It even names the woman, Alice Montague, a distant cousin of Nicole's, whose brief affair with Ted had produced Andre. Reeling, Andre collapses into an armchair. The world he thought he knew warps around him. Every photograph on the mantelpiece, every holiday memory, every bedtime story told by Ted now feels like a carefully choreographed performance. The moral compass that guided his life spins wildly, leaving him adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Anger surges through him, anger at Ted's duplicity, at Nicole's unwitting involvement, at the parents he never truly had. And beneath the anger, a profound grief for the childhood he never lived, for the love he believed he received, but which now feels tainted by secrecy. Summoning courage, Andre rises and retrieves an iron key taped to the back of the letter. Ted, always meticulous, had hidden it in plain sight. He hurries downstairs to Ted's private office. The door is slightly ajar, and he slips inside, heart pounding. The room is a shrine to the Richardson legacy, a mahogany desk, family crests etched into the wood, walls lined with diplomas and awards. Andre's hand shakes as he fits the key into the lock of the small safe embedded beneath the desk's center drawer. A soft click echoes in the stillness. He opens it to find a leather-bound folder, its exterior embossed with the Richardson seal. Inside the folder lie 3 items: a certified copy of Andre's birth certificate, listing Ted Richardson as father and Alice Montague as mother. A paternity test result confirming with near 100% accuracy that Ted is indeed Andre's biological parent, and a letter addressed to Nicole, never sent, in which Ted confesses his love for Alice and his fear that revealing the truth would shatter his marriage. Fingers numb, Andre scans the documents again and again, each line an affirmation of the betrayal he has uncovered. The realization that Ted, the man he revered as uncle, has been his father all along cuts deeper than any blade. As the magnitude of the deception settles, Andre's mind races. He thinks of Nicole Dupree Richardson, the woman he always believed to be his aunt and confidant Ted's loyal partner, her brilliance and compassion a guiding beacon in his life. Would she have known? Could she have been a willing participant, or was she herself deceived? And what of Alice Montague? The woman he has never met, relegated to anonymity and shame, forced into secrecy by the very man who claimed to love her. How had her life unfolded after giving him up? The questions pile up, each one a dagger twisting in his chest. Unable to remain in Ted's office, Andre retreats to the garden courtyard. Night has fallen, and the lamps cast pools of light among the hedges. The air is crisp, carrying the faint aroma of jasmine from the climbing vines. He paces beneath the ancient oak tree, the roots knotted like the lies buried beneath his family history. He clutches the letter and folder to his chest as though they were keepsakes of a life he never truly lived. The courtyard, once a place of tranquility where Ted and Nicole hosted elegant gatherings, now feels like a stage upon which he has been nothing more than an unwitting actor. A sudden rustle in the hedges jolts him from his reverie. He whirls, ready to confront an intruder, but finds Nicole standing there, her expression a mixture of concern and confusion. Her eyes, usually so warm, flicker with something unreadable when she sees the documents in his hands. Andre's throat tightens. He hasn't planned what to say, only known that he could no longer remain silent. "I found these," he says, voice low and brittle. "In your office." Nicole steps closer, gaze fixed on the leather folder. The flickering light reveals a single tear tracing down her cheek. She reaches for the folder, but Andre steps back. "No," he whispers. "Not yet." He holds the letter aloft. "Do you know what this means?" Her lips part, a gasp escaping before she can stifle it. She looks toward the study door, as though expecting Ted to emerge at any moment. "Andre," she breathes, but suspicion and pain shadow her eyes. "You shouldn't have seen that." He squares his shoulders, resolve hardening. "Tell me the truth," he demands. "Everything." Nicole draws in a ragged breath. For a moment, silence falls between them, searing, accusatory, and pregnant with unsaid confessions. Then she lifts her chin. "I'll explain," she says, voice trembling yet determined. But not here. Together, they move toward the house, Nicole guiding Andre through a hidden side entrance he has never noticed before. The hallway beyond is narrow and dimly lit, lined with portraits of Richardson ancestors' stoic faces gazing down as though judging the scene about to unfold. Nicole pauses before a heavy wooden door at the end, places a shaking hand on its surface, and turns to Andre. "Once you step in, there's no turning back," she warns. "You must be ready for everything you'll learn." Andre nods, steeling himself. He pushes the door open to reveal Ted's private sitting room, a space seldom entered by anyone other than Ted himself. A gas lamp burns on a side table, illuminating comfortable leather chairs and a small writing desk. Nicole closes the door and gestures for him to sit. She perches on the edge of a chair opposite him, her fingers clasping together as though in prayer. "Andre," she begins, voice trembling, "the truth is more complicated than you realize. Your mother, Alice Montague, was my cousin. She and Ted fell in love unexpectedly, tragically. When you were born, they panicked. Ted loved Mayhay, thought he loved me. But the scandal of a child born out of wedlock, a cousin affair, would have destroyed our family and your life beyond measure. Andre's head spins. He presses his palms to his eyes, trying to absorb the weight of her words. So they invented Stan and Ira, he murmurs. They made them my parents, then killed them off in a fake accident. Nicole's lips tremble as she nods. It was the only way, she whispers. They believed it was best for you. Ted thought he could protect you by hiding the truth. And I stood by him because I loved him and because I believed it was right. That's not right, Andre snaps, voice cracking. That's monstrous. He pushes to his feet, pacing the small room. My whole life has been a lie. Nicole rises, tears in her eyes, and places a hand on his arm. I'm sorry, she says, voice barely audible. I truly am. But Ted was terrified. He thought if you knew, you'd hate him and I'd hate him and our whole world would collapse. Andre whirls, pain and rage in equal measure. But I hate him now, he hisses. I hate him for every birthday card he signed love, Uncle Ted, for every bedtime story, for every sacrifice he made and every lie he told. His shoulders slump as exhaustion steals his strength. Why didn't he ever tell me the truth? Nicole's tears spill freely now. He thought he was protecting you, she repeats. He thought he was protecting your future. She steps toward him, but he shrinks back. Don't touch me. Silence reigns as Andre storms from the room, clutching the letter and folder like a lifeline. He emerges into the hallway, where the portraits of long-dead ancestors seem to watch him with cold detachment. His mind reels with the implications. His lineage, once a matter of pride, is now the product of manipulation. His relationship with Nicole, once warm and trusting, is forever tainted, and his connection to Ted, the man who has shaped his life, is irrevocably shattered. Back in his bedroom, Andre throws himself onto the bed, the papers fanned out across the comforter. The satin sheen of the duvet feels foreign under his trembling fingers. He stares at the ceiling, willing the storm within his chest to subside. Memories flash unbidden, Ted ruffling his hair as a child, Nicole's laughter echoing through the halls, family dinners by the fireplace. Each recollection now feels like a fraud, a mask worn to conceal a darker reality. As dawn approaches, pale light filters through the curtains, casting the room in a soft glow. Andre rises, resolute. He knows that the path ahead will demand answers not just from Ted and Nicole, but from himself. He must confront the father who betrayed him, the mother who relinquished him, and the aunt who stood by. And he must decide, will he allow this deception to define him, or will he seize control of his own story and remake his identity on his own terms? He gathers the letter, the birth certificate, and the paternity results into a neat stack. With a final glance in the mirror into the eyes of a young man on the verge of a reckoning, slips the documents into his jacket pocket. The time for silence has passed. The time for questions has come. Beyond these walls lies a world that has never known the full measure of his truth. And Andre Richardson, with the weight of generations on his shoulders, is ready to change that. A cold light filtered through the tall windows of the Richardson manor as Andre slipped silently down the grand staircase, the weight of the letter and the paternity folder pressing like stones in his jacket pocket. Every polished step brought him closer to the confrontation he had long dreaded, and yet, in his heart, he knew it was inevitable. He reached the drawing room, where Nicole sat by the fireplace, arms wrapped around herself, the flicker of embers reflecting in her eyes. Without a word, he crossed the room and laid the documents on the low table between them. Nicole's breath caught in her throat. You read everything, she whispered. Andre nodded, gaze steady. I need the truth, Nicole. All of it. For a long moment, Nicole said nothing, her fingers tracing the edge of the leather folder. Then she exhaled a trembling breath and rose to her feet. You deserve to know why I stayed silent, she began, voice thick. Ted, he was terrified. Terrified of losing me, terrified of the scandal that would swallow our family. She paused, drawing closer. When Alice Montague came to me, pleading to protect you, I thought I was doing the right thing. I believed marrying Ted without questioning his past was our salvation. Andre felt anger and pity rise in equal measure. So you agreed to Leto build my entire life on a lie. Tears slipped down Nicole's cheeks. I agreed because I loved him. Because I loved you. I thought I could keep you safe if you never knew. At that moment, the study door opened quietly and Ted entered, face pale but resolute. His eyes met Andre's, and the air crackled with decades of unspoken guilt. Andre, he said simply. Andre stood, hands clenched. Why? Ted's shoulders sagged. Because I was weak. Because I feared that facing the truth would destroy you and destroy us all. He lifted a shaking hand. I fathered you out of love and recklessness, then regretted the consequences. I tried to do right by everyone, but in doing so, I betrayed the most important person, my son. The confession echoed through the room like a tolling bell. Andre's mind raced. All the birthdays celebrated under false pretenses, the proud introductions at school and society galas, the countless moments when he had looked to Ted for approval. Now every memory felt tainted. Nicole stepped forward, placing a tentative hand on Ted's arm. We can't change the past, she said softly. But we can decide what happens next. Andre's gaze shifted between them. What happens next is up to me. Over the next days, the manor became a crucible of strained silence and hushed conversations. Andre retreated to the library, poring over family records, genealogies, and the old correspondence he could find, seeking any clue to the woman who had given him life. Meanwhile, Ted and Nicole met in private, planning how to mitigate the fallout, drafting statements for the press, consulting legal counsel, and preparing to sever any ties that would betray their deception further. But in every meeting, Andre's absence loomed a reminder that they had sacrificed his trust for the sake of appearances. One afternoon, Andre found himself standing before the portrait of Stan and Ira Richardson, the kindly faces he had always believed were his parents. He traced a finger along the gilded frame, fighting back the lump in his throat. Then, with sudden resolve, he strode from the room. He would find Alice Montague and confront her. She, too, had a story to tell. His search led him to a modest cottage in a neighboring Count Yen address he pieced together from an old letter in Ted's archives. He arrived on a gray morning, the sky low and heavy with rain. At the gate, a frail figure tended a rose garden, her white hair pinned back, her shoulders stooped but purposeful. When she looked up and saw him, tears welled in her eyes. Andre, she whispered, her voice a fragile thread. She ushered him inside, where photographs and mementos lined the mantel, a young couple laughing, a baby swaddled in blankets, letters tied in ribbons. I've waited so long, Alice said, her hand trembling as she offered him a faded photograph of herself with Ted, taken just after his wedding to Nicole. We made mistakes, my boy. But not all of them were born of malice. Andre listened as Alice recounted her affair with Ted, a whirlwind of passion, secrecy, and profound regret. She spoke of the heartbreak when she learned he had married Nicole, of the guilt that drove her to distance herself, and of the nights she cried herself to sleep imagining the son she'd never claim. I loved you from afar, Alice confessed, and I prayed you would have a happy life, even if it wasn't mine to give. His heart ached at her sorrow. Here was the woman who had given him life, shamed into silence by Ted's fear. He realized that her pain was a mirror of his own, both of them cast aside by a man consumed with protecting his own reputation. Back at the manor, the Richardson name was coming under scrutiny. Rumors had begun to circulate, whispers of a hidden heir, rumors of forged documents, speculation in the tabloids that the perfect family was a fraud. Ted and Nicole hosted a private press conference in the garden, flanked by lawyers and publicists, to address the rumors without acknowledging the paternity scandal. Their carefully crafted statement mourned unfounded allegations and affirmed their commitment to family unity and truth, while promising an internal investigation. Andre watched from the second-floor balcony, his arms crossed. This performance made his skin crawl. He refused to be part of the deceit any longer. That evening, he called a family meeting in the great Halle space used for opulent celebrations, but now heavy with tension. Ted and Nicole took their seats at the long oak table. Andre stood at the head, the letter and birth certificate laid out before him. "I will not let you spin another story for the press," Andre began, voice clear and unwavering. "The world has a right to know my truth, and I have a right to claim it." He turned to Ted. "You owe me transparency, respect, and the chance to define my own life. If you continue to cloak this in lies, you will lose me forever." Ted, looking every inch the patriarch faced with insurrection, closed his eyes. When he opened them, his gaze was filled with remorse. "You have every right," he said quietly. "I will cooperate fully. No more secrets." Nicole stood and moved to Andre's side. "I promise," she said, voice firm. "We will do this your way." In the weeks that followed, Andre took control of the narrative. He authorized the release of a carefully edited memoir first-person account of his discovery, detailing the letter, the safe, and his meetings with Alice. It was a brave move, exposing the scandal with candor and dignity. The memoir struck a chord. Readers admired his honesty, and even sympathized with Ted's flawed humanity. The tabloids, deprived of sensationalist angles, receded, and the Richardson brand weathered the storm with its reputation surprisingly intact. But more important than public image was the transformation within the family. Andre and Ted spent long evenings in the orchard, repairing their bond through frank conversation and shared regret. Nicole joined them, forming a new triangle of trust built on truth rather than illusion. And Alice, though she chose not to live at the manor, remained a close presence in Andre's life, a godmother of sorts, offering guidance and love without pretense. As summer ripened around the estate, the old oak tree under which Andre once paced became a place of reconciliation. Beneath its spreading limbs, he and Ted planted a rosebush in Alice's honor, white blooms to symbolize forgiveness and new beginnings. In the days that followed, Andre found peace in shaping his own identity. He enrolled in a program to study family history and ethics, determined to help others entangled in secrets like those that had ensnared him. Nicole supported him every step of the way, her partnership now grounded in mutual respect and honesty. When autumn's first breeze rustled the manor's lawns, Andre stood before a gathering of friends and neighbors to unveil a scholarship in Alice Montague's name dedicated to single mothers and children born into complex circumstances. His speech was heartfelt, mingling the pain of betrayal with the hope of redemption. "We all deserve to know who we are," he told the crowd. "And sometimes, the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the courage to unearth the buried truths of our past." In the end, the lie that had threatened to destroy an entire lineage became the catalyst for transformation. Ted and Nicole's marriage, once propped up by artifice, was reborn on a foundation of transparency. Alice's long-suppressed love was honored through both scholarship and friendship, and Andre, at last free from the shadows of deception, stepped forward into a future he could claim as his own, no longer a boy living someone else's story, but a man authoring his own.